Welcome to CS440 Foundations of Cybersecurity course. I'm very excited to have you all here. And in this very first lesson of CS440, let me start with defining what security is. Security is all about staying in business. Nowadays, almost everything is going digital and online. So if we want our IT businesses or the business organization that we work for to survive, we first need to learn and understand what security is, regardless of whether you are coming from School of Information Systems, or you are coming from accountants, School of Law, or you are coming from smart cities or whatsoever. It doesn't matter. Because as long as we want our IT business or the business organization that we are working for to survive, we need to know what security is, at least the foundations. Because many of the security attacks nowadays know that they originate from the lack of awareness of the users of those IT applications. So let me first give you the very first definition of security. It is known as CIA triad. But before that, know that definitions of security vary from different perspectives, objective, or the context that you are in. I'm going to give you a few such definitions in the upcoming slides, but take note that the very first definition here will be the most relevant one to our course, one of the most fundamental definitions. Say that we have a sensitive information in our IT system. Our system is said to be secure if it can prevent an unauthorized user from being able to access such sensitive information. That is called confidentiality property. And if our system is also able to prevent such a user or unauthorized user from modifying the sensitive data, also known as tampering the sensitive data, it is known as integrity property. Now, there is a legitimate user, and if that is the case, as long as he is legitimate and as long as he is authorized to access sensitive data, and if your system can make that happen, whenever he wants to access the data, it is available to him, then your system is said to have availability property. Now, this CIA definition, in fact, came from communication security when the internet was first invented. It does not fully address other security concerns such as application security. Nowadays, we have cloud security and so on. So in this course, we're going to start with truly understanding this CIA definition first and learn how to make our system achieve such properties. But then later on, we will discuss about application security. This is another definition of security from the perspective of a defender. Assume that you are a defender. You want to ensure your system is secure. You are the user of the application. You want to take preventive measures that prevent your assets from being damaged. And also you want to take additional measures so that you can also detect when, how, and by whom the asset has been damaged when your prevention measure does not prove to be successful. And in the case of detection, you also want to take reactive measures so that you can recover your assets and also recover from the damage of your assets immediately. For example, assume that you are a user of an e-commerce application. To ensure that your orders are secure, you may want to encrypt your order so that the attacker cannot read the order or cannot modify or tamper with your order. Another measure that you could take is just to simply rely on the merchants to perform checks on the transaction. And the last resort could be that you don't use the internet at all. Wouldn't it be the most secure way? But of course, there is a trade-off of not being able to use the internet, which is hardly feasible nowadays. Deductive measure could be that when you check your credit card statement regularly so that whenever there is an unauthorized transaction happens, you detect it. And reactive measure could be that when you detect such an unauthorized transaction happen, you complain to the merchant or the service provider, or you complain to the bank and ask for a new credit card and so on. And this is another very important security definition known as security by obscurity. The idea or the concept behind is start with the question, can we achieve security by hiding things? If we hide about the security mechanism that was used to secure the system and how it works, if we hide it, will it achieve security? But in practice, it will not work well because nowadays, everything is becoming open source and there is widespread knowledge and expertise of the systems. And also, if we hide about everything, there can be no standards. So everything become independent, and then it will be very hard for the user to use those varying standards, which is not a good idea. On the other hand, Kharkov principle, which is a widely known and accepted security principle, it says that when you need to hide sensitive information, hide it using a key to hide the information, and only keep the key secret, but do not hide the method or the algorithm that is used to hide that information. Do not hide it. Make it open source, make it known to everybody, but just keep only the key secret. So that is a very popular security principle, Kharkov principle. And this is another definition of security from the perspective of legal, security by legislation. A system would be secure if we ask our users not to behave in an insecure or unethical way. We ask them to abide by the law. For example, follow this Personal Data Protection Act. Do not invade the privacy of the users, for example. But the thing is, isn't it too much for our security people to simply rely on the user's cooperation? Of course, user cooperation is always important because most of the attack, in fact, originate from the users, in fact, or rather the lack of security awareness by the users. So we do need the users to cooperate when we design our secure system. But the thing is, we shouldn't be relying too much on them. It should not be our main focus to achieve security. Because also on the other hand, the attackers, whether they are from outside or inside the attackers, in fact, they will not follow the law. They will not follow regulations or instructions or whatsoever. So by now, we have seen that there are many different definitions of security. And the only conclusion here we can make is that there is no universal standard in terms of security. So the remark here is that when you read documents related to security online or from the book, be careful not to confuse your own notion of security with that used in that document that you are reading, because from the point of the security expertise, we have in fact spent a lot of time and also unfortunately wasted trying to define a universal notion for security, but so far we have been unsuccessful just because it is rarely possible to have a universal definition of security because there can be many different objectives, many different perspectives, and different contexts that we are in. So the challenge ahead, which is a fundamental challenge between the IT experts and the application owners who has the business domain knowledge. So the problem for these two set of people is that often application owners who develop the application, they have the domain knowledge, they know their business, but the thing is often they are security unaware. They are not aware of the security implications. So the problem is they will not be able to tell us their specific security requirements for their specific business logic. And from the security point of view, the IT expert people, we know the standard security solution, but those standard security solutions may not meet their specific business requirement. And if we want to tailor our solution to those business owner needs, they may not be able to tell us what they in fact require. So basically, we need to bridge a gap between this application owner and security experts. We need the security expertise people to understand what to protect at least and tell us what it is. And then only then we will be able to tell them how to protect, how to design a specific security mechanism. But the thing is that security cannot get into the way of the application too much, because if the security solution that we provide become too expensive for them to implement and adopt, their business may collapse. So this is one of the most important slides. Security is never free. To implement our solution, which may be perfect, which may be ideal, but it may not be practical for the business owner to use it because it will affect the functionality of the application or the usability of the application. So know that security solution, there is always a cost. So even though ideally we want to implement our perfect security solution, also known as unconditional solution, there is only good enough security. When we achieve a good enough security, know that it is good enough. We cannot force the business people to implement the perfect security because it will affect the functionality of the application and the usability of the application and some other aspects as well. So throughout the course, unfortunately, please do not expect correct answers from me because security is never easy. Defining security is hard. Understanding security is hard. And implementing security is harder even. It needs a lot of technical skills. Security will pose a lot of challenging questions to you as we learn throughout the course. And there will rarely be correct answers because there are only good and bad answers. What we have to do is when we propose a solution, we just have to explain the solution that is applicable in a specific context and specific application domain. And then we justify in that way. And in fact, answers to a question, security question, may also change over time. What worked 10 years ago may not work nowadays anymore. For example, due to the rise of blockchains and cloud security and so on. It will change. Sometimes question itself may also change over time. We used to ask that do we need authentication or authorization to make a system secure? Sometimes authentication, sometimes authorization. And you will see all of these challenging questions throughout the course. And that is what you need to expect in this course. So, in summary, what we have learned is you have learned about confidentiality, integrity, and availability definitions, and also various other security definitions. And there are challenges for the application owners and the security experts. we need to find a way to address those challenges. And last but not least, know that there is always a trade-off of implementing security. We need to find a way to compromise the security concerns versus usability and functionality of the business application. Thank you very much. See you next time.